The first thing I remember that winter was the silence. Not the gentle kind, not the soft whisper of snow falling on rooftops or the distant hum of wind brushing through trees. No. This silence was heavier, denser, like a thick blanket that wrapped around everything and pressed down on my chest until breathing felt like a chore. I don't know if it was the cold in the air or the cold inside me, but both were there, twisting into each other, making every step feel like walking through cement rather than snow. Every morning, I would stare at my reflection in the window, breath fogging the glass, trying to convince myself that I could survive another day of it, that I could push myself through another moment of pretending I was fine. But each time I blinked, fatigue stared back at me through my own eyes. I didn't speak to anyone. Not really. I gave answers when I had to, nods when nods were required, brief greetings to keep from being rude, but actual conversation? Actual connection? The desire for it had slipped away long before winter arrived. I had convinced myself that nothing was going to change, that this winter would be just like every winter before it. Cold, isolating, a reminder of everything I had lost, everything I had failed to hold on to. I thought the season's cruelty was inevitable, predictable, a cycle, and I was trapped in it. But life has its own timing. It breaks you at your weakest and heals you at the strangest moments, without warning, without permission. And that morning, walking toward the bus stop with my hood pulled tight and my shoulders hunched against the wind, I realized something was different. Something subtle, something I almost missed. It wasn't the weather, the wind was still sharp, the snow still biting, the clouds still heavy. But something in the air had shifted. Something warm, somewhere. And then, I saw you. I didn't know your name. I didn't know your story. I didn't know why the sight of you made my breath itch in my chest, or why the cold seemed to pause for a second when you turned your head. All I knew was that you were standing there, a cup of coffee between your gloved hands, your scarf wrapped high around your chin, and your eyes. Your eyes were glowing gently against the muted grey morning. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't like the movies. But when your gaze lifted and met mine, just for a second, everything inside me shifted. Not melted completely, but cracked. Just enough for warmth to seep through. Cold morning, huh? Your voice wasn't loud, wasn't forced, just soft enough to cut through the silence around us. I swallowed, wishing my voice wouldn't tremble when I answered. Yeah, cold. Understatement of a lifetime. You gave a small laugh, warm, fragile, like it belonged in a place where winter didn't exist. That laugh did something to me. It reached places I had forgotten how to feel. And I didn't know why. The bus arrived with a loud hiss and everyone moved forward. I found my seat near the back, as always, head down, hands shoved deep into my pockets. But the reflection in the window caught movement. Your movement, snowflakes dancing around your hair as you found a seat too. Not next to me, but close enough for me to see your breath rising and fading, the way your eyes softened when they glanced out the window. I didn't stare long, just long enough to know that I wanted, for the first time in months, to speak again, to connect again, to feel again. I didn't know then, but that quiet snowy morning was the beginning, the spark, the shift, the moment everything started to unravel and rebuild. The days that followed were a blur of routine, the same bus stop, the same heavy winter sky, the same biting cold, but you were there, every morning, always with a cup of coffee in your hands, always bundled in your scarf, always letting your eyes lift just enough to meet mine. And each time, you smiled. Not a huge grin, not a dramatic gesture, but a soft, gentle curve of your lips that felt like fire in the frozen air. I found myself waiting for that smile, needing it, relying on it. And I hated that I did. I hated the vulnerability of wanting someone's presence, someone's warmth, someone's voice. But I couldn't stop myself. Because that smile, that quiet, unassuming smile, was the only thing that felt real in a season full of numbness. One morning, you brought 2 coffees. You didn't know how I liked it, but you guessed. 1 sugar, no cream, you said, offering it to me. I blinked. How did you? You shrugged casually. I pay attention. Your tone was easy, natural, as though paying attention was something you did without effort. Those words, they shook something loose inside me. Being seen, really seen, felt foreign, unfamiliar, intimidating. But it felt good too. Too good. We walked slowly toward the bench at the edge of the square. It was frosted in a layer of white, every part of it coated with a cold that made air sting. But you brushed it off with your gloves, laughing lightly as flakes clung to the fabric. You Saturday. Then you looked up at me, an unspoken invitation, and I sat beside you. The silence between us wasn't awkward, not heavy. It was warm, comfortable, soothing in ways I couldn't explain. Snowflakes drifted in soft spirals around us, landing on your hair, melting instantly against your warmth. You looked out at the street, your voice a whisper. Winter makes everything feel louder, doesn't it? I didn't answer immediately, not because I didn't know what to say, but because your words were too close to truth, too close to what I'd been feeling, too close to the demons I carried quietly. Yes, I finally said. It makes the silence louder too. Your head tilted gently, and in your eyes, I saw understanding. Not pity, not confusion, just quiet understanding. And it felt safe. You didn't ask questions. You didn't push. You didn't pry. You simply sat there beside me, letting silence exist without suffocating, letting the cold swirl around us while warmth grew quietly between us. The weeks turned into a pattern, a rhythm, a quiet ritual that slowly became the highlight of my day. I would walk toward the stop earlier, knowing you'd be there. You'd walk slower, matching my pace. Sometimes you talked, sometimes I listened, sometimes we just walked in silence and it still felt like speaking. But inside, I carried battles you didn't know about. Shadows from past winters. Memories that clung to my chest like ice. Nights I couldn't sleep. Days I barely held myself together. I told myself not to let you in. Not to rely. Not to hope. But hope has a strange way of sneaking in through the smallest cracks. And the day you asked, "Why do you look sad even when you smile?" My heart didn't know how to hide anymore. Your voice was gentle, your expression soft, not demanding explanations, just offering space. Space I hadn't had in a long time. Space I didn't know I needed. I hesitated. Breath caught. Words tangled in my throat. But your eyes, your patient, warm eyes, gave me permission to let go. So I did. Not everything, but enough. Enough for you to understand that winter wasn't just outside. It lived inside me. It froze my heart, my thoughts, my hope, and I didn't know how to melt it alone. You didn't pull away. Not even for a second. You just whispered, "I'm not going anywhere." And that whisper became my lifeline. Then, the storm came. Not just any storm, a winter storm that battered the city with snow and wind so fierce it felt like the world was trying to disappear. The sky turned dark, lamps flickered, trees bent beneath the weight of ice. People ran for shelter, but you and I were caught in the middle of it. Your coat billowed, your scarf whipped around your face, your hair tangled in the wind. You grabbed my arm instinctively, your fingers tightening around my jacket, pulling me closer. We found shelter under the awning of a closed shop, breathing hard, laughing breathlessly through the chaos. Snow crashed against the pavement, wind howled like a living thing, but you were warm. We stood close, too close, your breath merging with mine, your eyes locked on mine. Time slowed. Sound faded. Everything became small except the space between us. Do you ever feel like winter makes everything louder? You asked softly. Your voice trembled, not from fear of the storm, but from something deeper. Vulnerability. Truth. Yes, I whispered. Especially the things we try to bury. Your eyes softened, your breath shook, your heart hammered in the tiny distance between us. I could feel it, the tension, the fear, the longing. Everything unspoken sitting between us like a ghost waiting for release. Then you stepped closer, close enough for your forehead to nearly touch mine, and whispered, "Thank you for walking with me." I didn't respond with words. I responded by reaching for your hand. And for the first time, you held it tight. The storm continued around us, but inside that tiny pocket of space, everything felt warm, alive, real. You looked at me with a softness that broke through every wall I had built. You squeezed my hand gently, heartbeat steady, breath trembling. And that moment became everything. After that night, everything changed. Not instantly, not dramatically, but slowly, like the first signs of spring beneath layers of snow. You asked more questions. I gave more answers. We shared more moments, longer walks, deeper conversations, quiet laughter. You became more than a presence, more than a routine. You became the warmth I didn't know I could have. And I saw your cracks too. Your fears. Your doubts. Your quiet loneliness. Because warmth doesn't mean someone hasn't been cold before. You had. And I recognized it in you. The way your smile sometimes flickered. The way your voice sometimes trembled when speaking about loss. The way your eyes sometimes clouded over when the wind blew too hard. We held each other through it. Not dramatically, but consistently. Quietly, gently. The biggest moment, the one that shattered the last piece of ice inside me, happened on a morning where the sky was so white it blended with the earth. Snowstorm aftermath. Silence hanging heavy. Air crisp enough to sting with every breath. I approached the bus stop expecting to find emptiness. No one would be crazy enough to stand outside in weather like that. But you were there, shivering. Your face red, your scarf dusted with frost, your lashes coated in tiny snowflakes, but you stayed. You came, I said, stunned. Your lips trembled as you smiled. I wasn't going to leave you alone. Simple words. With weight. With meaning. With heart. I swallowed hard, emotion tightening my chest. And you stepped closer. Closer than ever before. Can I tell you something? You whispered. Your breath fogged the air between us, your voice barely audible above the wind. Of course, I said, though my heart was pounding. You looked at me, really looked, like you were peeling back every layer, every fear, every doubt. Then you said the words that sealed everything. I don't like winter. I like you. And in that moment, in that fragile, beautiful, snowy moment, the world melted around me. I don't know how long we stood there, hands brushing, hearts racing, snow swirling like magic around us. But I'll never forget the way you looked at me. Like I wasn't invisible. Like I wasn't broken. Like I wasn't lost. Like I mattered. Your lips quivered as snowflakes melted on them. Your fingers trembled as they reached for mine. Your eyes softened as warmth spilled from them. And everything inside me, everything cold, everything frozen, melted quietly. I whispered, "I like you too," without hesitation, without fear, without regret. You exhaled, a shaky breath of relief, and rested your forehead against mine. Snow fell around us silently. Time froze. The world dimmed. And for the first time in a long time, I felt home. That winter became ours. Not the season, the memory, the warmth, the quiet love that grew between us. Every morning held meaning. Every walk carried comfort. Every shared breath was an unspoken promise. We built something gentle, something strong, something real, in a season when nothing should have grown. And even now, when I look back, I realize that I didn't just survive that winter. I found warmth I never knew existed. Warmth in your smile. Warmth in your voice. Warmth in your presence. Warmth in the way you said my name. Warmth in the way you held my hand. Winter didn't end the day the snow melted. It ended the day I met you. The day the cold inside me thawed. The day I found reasons to breathe again. The day you looked at me and saw me. That's how I found you in the coldest winter, and how you found me in the darkest one.